Hello, you're watching TVP World News. I'm Ina. Facing multiple charges in Poland, former Polish Justice Minister Zbigniew Ziobro has been granted political asylum and international protection in Hungary, according to his attorney. The move is expected to deepen political tensions between Warsaw and Budapest. Prosecutors suspect Ziobro of committing 26 offences while acting as one of the most influential figures in Poland's previous administration, which was led by the right-wing Law and Justice Party. Investigators accused Ziobro of establishing and leading an organised criminal group that allegedly misused around 35 million euros from the Justice Fund, a state programme created to help victims of crime. Ziobro's lawyers said on Monday that the former minister and current lawmaker had received both international protection and political asylum from the Hungarian authorities. Ziobro took to X to thank Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban for his protection. People across Ukraine are facing extreme conditions as many regions of the country are struggling to provide them with heating and power amidst severe weather conditions. Moscow has once again weaponized the bitter cold, deliberately directing its attacks against energy infrastructure facilities. Our special correspondent Oz Kateji is in Kiev and has more. Good morning, Oz. Can you tell us more about what's happening? How much damage was actually inflicted by these Russian attacks, and how are the ordinary people of Ukraine coping with the resulting situation?
Good morning, Jonasz. Well, the attacks on the 9th left about half of Kiev's apartment buildings without power. There was also disruptions to water and the central heating system. Ukraine has a collective central heating system, and that had to be paused. So there were parts of the capital city left without power, without water, and without heat, which is why Vitaly Klitschko, the mayor of Kyiv, went as far as asking people to temporarily leave the city while work is done to restore. That work is still ongoing. Prime Minister Yulia Svyridenko says the power situation should improve by January 15th, but that's still a few more days away, and it's still very cold here. Last night reaching as low as minus 13. So a very difficult night, and that's if all goes to plan and there are no further attacks. However, there were more attacks in the early hours of Monday morning, with Russia launching 156 drones at Ukrainian territory. There were explosions in Kyiv around 1:30 in the morning and fires reported in parts of the city. So while the Ukrainian repair teams are working to try and restore those capabilities to the rest of the city, Russia continues to attack, bombard Ukrainian cities and target energy infrastructure here, Jonasz.
Oz Kateji there, bringing us the latest on these Russian atrocities being committed against ordinary people of Ukraine, against the civilian population, essentially. Oz, thank you very much for joining us, and of course, stay safe. Now, Russian troops are attempting to advance in Ukraine's Kupyansk, one of the country's major strongholds in the east of the country. However, Ukrainian soldiers are putting up heavy resistance, with the Vampire heavy bomber drones being one of the crucial weapon systems inflicting significant losses on the enemy forces.
We were about 1.6 kilometers away. I saw them on a camera feed entering a neighbouring village on mopeds. From there, only 2 fields were left between us. Finally, a glide bomb fell and levelled our position. I was just outside preparing ammunition. The glide bomb fell about 30 metres away. I was hit. We had to leave on foot because FPV drones would immediately destroy any means of transport. This machine is not designed to destroy infantry, but often we receive orders to hit 2 or 3 soldiers hiding in a basement, bunker, private house or garage. These buildings need to be opened so that FPV drones can get there. We need to review our methods. Everything has changed in 4 years. Unfortunately, the enemy is developing much faster than us. We are trying to catch up to the enemy rather than the other way around.
A video of African mercenaries in Ukraine has surfaced over the weekend, accompanied by insulting comments from one of the Russian troops. In the footage, one of the Russians refers to the African units as disposables. The soldiers recruited to participate in the war against Ukraine appeared in good spirits despite the freezing weather. However, the footage is accompanied by an ominous comment from one of the Russian troops, who said that the African mercenaries would start thinking differently once deployed to the front line. In November, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha said that more than 1,400 people from 36 African nations were known to be fighting for Russia. Sybiha said Moscow was enticing Africans to join the war and sign military contracts that were equivalent to a death sentence. Sybiha also explained that, and I quote, Russia recruits nationals of African countries using a variety of methods. Some are offered money, while others are duped and do not realize what they are signing up for, or are forced to do so under duress. Ukraine has said that the largest contingent of foreign fighters in Russia's ranks comes from Cuba, estimating that up to 20,000 Cubans have been recruited as mercenaries. During his Angelus prayer on Sunday, Pope Leo renewed his appeal for the end to violence in Ukraine and called for peace and dialogue in the Middle East. The Pope said that he prays for those who are suffering from the strikes directed against Ukraine last week.
In Ukraine, severe new attacks aimed at energy infrastructure as the cold weather grows harsher are taking a heavy toll on the civilian population. I pray for those who suffer and renew my appeal for an end to the violence and for renewed efforts to achieve peace.
The US will take control of Greenland one way or another, said US President Donald Trump, speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One, adding that he would not allow Russia and China to do it instead. When asked about NATO's opposition to such a move, Trump said NATO needs the US more than the US needs NATO.
If we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will, and I'm not letting that happen. If we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will take Greenland, and I am not going to let that happen.
Is there any deal they can offer you?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to make a deal with them. It's easier. But one way or the other, we're going to have Greenland. No, I'm not. I haven't done that. But Greenland should make the deal because Greenland does not want to see Russia or China take over. They don't go there. It's very far away from Greenland. And Greenland, basically, their defense is 2 dog sleds. Do you know that? Do you know what their defense is? 2 dog sleds. In the meantime, you have Russian destroyers and submarines and China destroyers and submarines all over the place. We're not going to let that happen. And if it affects NATO, then it affects NATO. But, you know, they need us much more than we need them. I will tell you that right now. No, look, we're talking about acquiring, not leasing, not having it short term. We're talking about acquiring. And if we don't do it, Russia or China will, and that's not going to happen when I'm president.
US President Donald Trump has denied any knowledge of an investigation into the country's Federal Reserve. Earlier, Fed Chief Jerome Powell said that the institution faced a Justice Department investigation and possible indictment over his testimony concerning renovation works carried out on the agency's buildings, alleging that the probe was really the consequence of the Fed's refusal to follow the president's instructions concerning interest rates.
I have deep respect for the rule of law and for accountability in our democracy. No one, certainly not the chair of the Federal Reserve, is above the law. But this unprecedented action should be seen in the broader context of the administration's threats and ongoing pressure. This new threat is not about my testimony last June or about the renovation of the Federal Reserve buildings. It is not about Congress's oversight role. The Fed, through testimony and other public disclosures, made every effort to keep Congress informed about the renovation project. Those are pretexts. The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president. This is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rates based on evidence and economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation.
The U.S. diplomatic mission in Poland is one of Washington's most strategic locations anywhere in the world, according to Mark Brzezinski, the former United States ambassador to Poland. Brzezinski joined TVP World's Between the Lines to discuss Poland's role in the region and the priorities of his past mission as U.S. ambassador.
America wants our partners to be strong. U.S. Mission Poland is one of our most strategic locations anywhere in the world, because what happens in Poland affects 14 countries in this region. The model of Poland, the steps Poland takes very much informs the Baltics, Czech Republic, Slovakia, and beyond. And so for me, pursuing certain values that would build resilience in this country was absolutely what my mission statement was.
A Japanese mining ship embarked on a pioneering journey on Monday to extract rare earth mud from deep waters near Minami Torishima Island. The aim of the mission is to reduce the country's reliance on China. Japan has been actively reducing dependency on China when it comes to pivotal minerals, essential in manufacturing cars and military equipment, among other applications. The mission shows Tokyo's push to diversify its rare earth resources and comes amid rising tensions with Beijing regarding rare earth exports. With a crew of 130, the ship is scheduled to sail back into port on the 14th of February. The art collection of Polish King Stanisław August Poniatowski was an expression of Enlightenment ideals, created to educate and to adorn royal residences. It includes paintings by old masters alongside sculptures, coins, medals and books. Today, some works can still be found in Warsaw. Natalia Komarow has more.
The last Polish king, Stanisław August Poniatowski, was a man of the Enlightenment, a lover of bold political ideas, philosophy and art. In the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, kings were elected, and so Poniatowski didn't inherit his predecessors' sculptures or paintings. In 1764, he moved into a near-empty royal castle. But that's okay, because as you will see right here, he was a passionate collector.
His reformatory activities aside, Stanisław August was perhaps most famous for his passion for art. He especially loved paintings. During his reign, he managed to collect 2,500 pieces, and the most prized ones he put on display here in the palace on the Isle.
Like other enlightened monarchs of the era, Stanisław August sent agents to London, Vienna, Paris and Rome to alert him on the best new pieces.
Sometimes paintings which weren't considered precious in Stanisław August's times turn out to be extremely valuable. For example, this portrait was thought to be anonymous work, but during recent conservation works we found it's actually by Anton van Dyck. This one is framed in an original Stanislavian frame. He decided that his paintings should have unified frames, sculpted and gold-plated. Some have Stanisław August royal cipher on top.
After the third and final partition of Poland in 1795, Stanisław August hoped to salvage his precious paintings.
When leaving for St. Petersburg at the end of his life, the king decided to take his most cherished paintings with him, which is why many of those artworks are now in Russian collections, most famously at the Hermitage.
With his love for art came many other ideas of the Enlightenment. King Stanisław August Poniatowski aimed to reform the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. He oversaw the adoption of one of the world's first constitutions. He opened the first Polish state school and hosted intellectuals at weekly Thursday dinners. Today, Warsaw's biggest and most picturesque park, Łazienki, serves as a reminder of the last Polish king's ambition. And even the little that is left of the king's vast collection makes a trip to the palace on the Isle here in Łazienki totally worth it. For TVP World, Natalia Komarov.
And that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.